What's happening, everybody? Let's get started. Southbound. What's going on? Big Face Trucker. What have you been up to, man? Matt K, good evening. PJ, what's going on? 2 times in a week? Yeah, I guess so. Well, it's Demo Thursday. So we're going to look at AXISTMS platform for a few minutes, and then we'll talk about whatever. If you would like to join the stream, we've pinned it up so you can join if you would like. So we'll demo a few things on Axis, and then we'll get into the program on another video, probably like a schools in session video. I'll do that and upload it. So if you want to check it out, go ahead. All right, so when you log into Axis, and if you're not running a TMS system, you should. And that's for owner-operators, carriers. You should have some type of software that you can keep track of your business. So we'll look at AXISTMS, a few of the key features. Now, they have done an update to their program, so it looks different from when we used to show it. Instead of having the breadcrumb at the top for drop-down menu, the menu stays open on the left side of the screen. So if you click on the arrows, you'll be able to see everything you can do under each header in the tab. So this is the dashboard look. Tells how many drivers, trucks, trailers, employees, tasks. You can set up new company drivers, subcontractors, trailers, partner networks, and everything right from this screen. And it'll show you all their drivers, owner-operators, employees, trailers, and trucks, all on this one screen. You can go to drivers, and then that'll open up another window, show you all your active drivers and so forth. And it'll do the same thing for trucks, trailers, owner-operators, on down the list. Now, under order management, they switched. They got running orders underneath here, which that used to be under dispatch. So if you click on running orders, that's going to give you a snapshot of what your company's doing. How many loads are scheduled, if there's any delays, on time arrived. And you'll see down here that someone had arrived, right? Steve's had arrived. He has a convoy load. Here, I can zoom in on this a little bit. It'll show you what stop he's on, how far he's got to go, where his next stop is, his ETA. Now, all this previous stop, current location, will be filled in if you're hooked up to an ELD. It'll bring that data in, and it'll show you exactly what's going on there and what the ETA is of that driver. So it's really powerful on seeing your whole operation all on one screen. Now, you can hit the perform action button, and you can do any of these things on here, which is really nice. So if you want to see the order, you just click view order, and it's going to take you to the order of this load. And in here, it'll give you the line haul, what it is per mile and everything, all broken down for you. And you can attach all the documents to it and so forth. So we just go back to the other screen. It's got completed orders, pending assignments. Now, if you put in some assignments and you haven't given them to a truck yet, they'll be in this section. So it's real easy. You select down, you can say assign order, and it's going to bring the order up, and it's going to show you what truck you pick one to assign it to. So we'll assign it to truck 777. And if he has an ELD in his truck, you can pick current GPS position or his last load. So if you pick his last load, it's going to give you that deadhead from where he was last was. And if something is wrong, you could change it in these boxes. If you hit assign now, it'll assign it to that driver. And you see up here that truck 777 trailer number, everything's assigned to this driver. So you can go to dispatch, truck monitor. This is another good feature. It'll show you all your trucks that are active, all the trailers they're hauling, everybody's name and phone numbers, their current location, if it was hooked to the ELD, their next available, their engine stats will be here, their speed will be here, and who owns that equipment. So that's another good screen that'll tell you exactly where all your trucks are at and what they're doing. Just from that one truck monitor screen. And they got a trailer monitor screen also, so you can see where all your trailers are at in case they're not hooked to trucks and so forth. Let's see what everybody's doing here in the chat. And then we'll do a whiteboard session on deadhead and your cost per day. We're not doing rate per mile, and we'll show you why during that. And anybody else who wants to come on here and say why rate per mile is better, I challenge them. I challenge them to come on here and prove their theory to the cost per day theory for business. So there's a challenge. All right, you can do map routing and quotes. You can go there, and if you click on that, that'll take you to the screen here, which you could fill out at the stop, hit submit, select trucks, and it'll give you driver cost, fuel cost, cost per mile, everything. It'll break down the whole trip right here. So that's another good feature. And we'll go into these in depth in some training videos. But for right now, this is just a quick demo. If you like this program or want to try this program, there's links down below in the description. Call them up, tell them we sent you, and you'll get a really good discount on this program to try it out. The locations tab. Now this is all the locations that you have put in the system. So if you're like us, the total locations are around 14,000, and they just keep growing, right? As of all the places you go to, the brokers and so forth. You can see if you have any restricted locations, in case someone doesn't pay you, you can restrict them. That way it'll show up there so you'll know who's restricted and who's not. And we'll go over, like I said, a training video on how to set up restrictions on customers. They do have the IFTA screen. There's diesel pricing. So if you click on diesel pricing, it'll give you the current per gallon diesel, period ending 9/4, and it's up a penny from last week from 4.48, and it's staying steady for the current per mile diesel, and this will be the per diem, or you know what I'm talking about. Your fuel surcharge, right? That's what that'll be. And you can see the graph of how it's going up and down over the years. And they got it all the way back here from 1994 and going up. And then here you see your fuel surcharge per mile data. It gives you all that. And you can see it going up right here. And they base it on 6 gallons per mile. And there you go. Good evening, Sterling Wheel. What's going on? So that's a quick demonstration of Axis. Some of the things that they have in there that are really useful. And this is a powerful software. It does everything. It has a good app, and it's got a good payroll system. And a lot of these programs kind of falter in some areas, but this one hits it on every level, which is really great. And the integration is where it's at. There's a lot of programs out there, but they don't have the integration. And what I mean by that is they can integrate with any of your ELD systems. They can integrate with payroll systems. They can integrate with load boards and things like that. Anything that has an API token, they can integrate it with. And if you're using a different software platform and you want to switch over, they can more than likely take your data and put it in here so you don't lose anything that you've, might have been putting into a program for years. They can switch that over. And they would tell you what kind of data format they would need to do that, but they have the programmers to do it. It does have a maintenance program in here also, but it's going to say restricted because I'm showing you a demo. So it does have a maintenance part in there on the trucks. So if we bring up trucks, and I'll see if it'll let me in there through this other way. So you click on trucks, and then we'll wait for it to go to the truck screen. It's right here. If we go perform action and hit maintenance, okay, we're in, right? So this is where you have your truck record, and you can set up maintenance schedules for oil changes, inspections, anything you want, and it'll alert you when they're due. And you can add a new record, and you bring it up, you put the date, you put what type of record it is, and you can always add new. So you can design this any way you want. So if you want to put a new record in there, you just add new, and you just type it in. So we could just put in here DOT inspections. And we'll just pick a date. So it's got that in there. Was there an accident? No. You could put a description in there. Alabama, DOT, pulled you over. You can attach a document, your inspection document. If this was a repair, you could put the cost in there, and it'll keep track of your repair costs on that equipment. And then action taken by the safety department, you can just put it in there and put anything. Done, hit submit. And then this record is going to show up right down here. So it has a maintenance file in it, already built in, which is a great feature. It also has a driver file program in it. So when you go to drivers, and if you say set up a new subcontract driver, let's say, you could put their information in here. And then as you continue through, it will take you to their previous employment, their drug screen, and so forth. We're not going to get into that right now. Like I said, that's for a different day. All right, so if you want to try it out, go check them out. So, anything anybody want to talk about? We could go to a demo on cost per day and why deadhead is better than sitting and doing nothing. Because a lot of people, if you don't like the rate per mile, those folks that look at rate per mile, if you don't like it, most of them sit there all day working really hard looking for loads. They get mad, Then they're mad all the rest of the night, calling their friends up on the phone, tell them how bad it is because they don't understand this business. Because they listen to individuals that don't understand this business. And all it does is lead them down the road to failure. And, you know, one of my buddies said, hey, did you watch such and such video? You know, they were talking about you. I said, I don't care. Let them talk. Because I know what works and I know what doesn't work. So if they want to do the stuff that doesn't work, that's on them, right? We will hold the line and we will teach what we always taught on this channel. Because we know it works. And it's a proven form of business that works. And you could take that cost per day to any business, because that's what all of them, really, all the businesses use them. Restaurants, car rental places, it doesn't matter what it is. Everybody knows their costs per day. And they run the business accordingly. Right? If you go into a restaurant, those prices on the menu don't change every single day, do they? They might change once every 6 months, once a year. You know, when inflation's going up, they might bump it up a few cents or 10 or 20 cents per meal, you know, every month. But the problem is they have printed menus and they're not going to reprint them. So a lot of them just keep that price. Then eventually, when it goes up too high, they put out a new menu with a new price. So, like trucking, right? There's a difference. You got rate per miles that fluctuate all over the place. It's never the same price. You know, unless you're on contract freight. Right? And the only thing that varies in contract freight is your fuel surcharge. And that even lags. So if the fuel jumps up $1 per gallon, the fuel surcharge doesn't jump up right away, because on contract freight, you might have that adjustment every 7 days, every 14 days, every month. It's not daily adjustment. So, you know, there's that difference. That's why you need to know your cost per day. Because if you know that, you're either, what it does for you is this. When you can't get the dollar rate per mile you want, you know the minimum cost to keep your business and household moving and not losing money. So if you know that cost and you see a load on the board that you would, these guys, the ones that run rate per mile, would never haul in their lifetime, no matter if they sat there for 5 days and went broke. They don't think of that. They just got that number burned in their head because they listen to these other channels and the satellite radio system and so forth that don't know nothing about trucking. They think they do, they act like they do, but they don't. So that's what they instill in them. And then that's what happens. That individual will sit there at the truck stop or at a terminal for days because they say, I'm not hauling that cheap freight. But then they'll get their rate they want, but when they add in their deadhead and everything, they didn't get the rate. And they don't get the rate they need to survive because they gave up, let's say, 3 days sitting there. But they don't figure that in the equation either. They only see, they're like a horse with blinders on. They only see that one number, tunnel vision. That's what they have. They don't see the whole picture. So if you know your cost to keep your business and your household running, then if that load, and it doesn't matter what the rate per mile is, if you take that load to get you from A to B, to keep the truck moving so you don't go negative, then it works. So if you don't focus on rate per mile, that opens up a whole lot more loads for you to conduct your business with. You're not limiting yourself to a handful of loads in this economy. I mean, does that make sense? And we can put it on the board all day long, but it's like preaching to a choir. 95% of the people don't listen, but they'll listen to the other out here on YouTube and other places, and then they wonder why their credit cards go from 0 to 20,000 and they're missing their bills at home, or they're having to borrow money to go paycheck to paycheck. It's because their mindset is not right. They don't have the business mindset. They got the mindset of, I'm not hauling for less than $2.50 a mile. I'm not doing it. This truck will sit here. I'll leave it on the dock, so forth and so forth. And all they're doing is hurting their business and their family. That's all they're doing. If anybody wants to join in, you can join in if you want. And I probably lost half the people on that, right? So Big Face, what have you been up to? There you go. If anybody wants to see PJ doing his thing, send us. I can send out his phone number. He can text you. You can show up with dollar bills, all that good stuff. PJ, that's funny. When's the market gonna change? If you're watching these YouTube channels and they're putting up this data from certain companies out there, don't listen to that data. If you've been out here long enough, you know exactly what's going on. So, we're coming into an election year. We're coming off some of the best rates we've had because freight and everything is suppressed by the pandemic, they call it, right? And things are, gotten back online. They had too many trucks that came in because they seen all those big rates. So they had an influx of new authorities and so forth and so forth. And same thing with brokers. And now it's like a feast and famine type of thing. And there's a lot of shady stuff going on in trucking right now. So you'll notice that a lot of the brokers will only send rate cons to certain email addresses. They got to verify that you're actually working at the company that you say you are. They want to call the phone number that's on the FMCSA Safer website. That way they know they're talking to the business. And so forth and so forth. And then you got these companies out there that are posing as the broker, stealing the loads, stealing the money. You have brokers stealing money from carriers, right? Because they're making up things just to get some money back and so forth. So you got a lot of things that we have to watch out for and that are going against us, right? Because look at it. This business treats the carrier and the driver as if we're the very bottom, and they really don't care. But without us, there is no broker, there is no shipper, there is no receiver. This country stops without trucks. Their mentality's a little off, because if this group of trucks was organized, and that's why they'll never let it happen, even though everybody talks about it, they'll never let it happen, because you'd be the most forceful business in this country. You could get whatever you wanted, right? We can all agree on that. If all the trucks were organized, you basically can call whatever you want, because everybody would be on the same page. And that's why they'll never let it happen, because you'd be too powerful. Whoever was the head of that organization, if all the trucks, like Teamsters or whatever, if they had all the trucks in the country all organized, they'd be too powerful. That's why they'll never let it happen. They tried one time. We all know that story and what happened. And that's why they flood it with whoever can drive. They don't follow the rules, right? If you look at CDLs, supposed to be able to speak and understand English. And we all know out there that there's a lot of truck drivers out there that cannot do that, but they're still driving trucks. But they flood the industry like that, so it will never be organized. Trucking is the only occupation where the customers set the prices. And that's the thing, PJ. We should be the ones setting the prices. But when they have it, a business organization that doesn't stick together, then there's no way we can set the prices. Because when everybody's independent and they're all saying they'll haul it for this or they'll haul it for that price, everybody has different prices. So until those individuals learn the industry and learn what it takes to maintain that truck and be profitable, we will continue to have this. And you can go all the way back to the early 90s. And right now, today, back then, they were hauling for the same price, rate per mile, as they are today. The cost of diesel was a fifth of what it is today. The cost of goods was way down. So this is the only industry that after 30 years, you're making less money than you did 30 years ago. It's the only business. Restaurants are making more money. You're not buying that hamburger at McDonald's for $0.25 anymore. You're buying it for what's a Big Mac meal? $10, $9, whatever it is. What was it? A couple of dollars back then? You know? Look at minimum wage. That's went all the way up to, what is it now? $8, $9, $10, I don't know. It's up there though. But most places are paying more than that. I mean, you got fast food restaurants that want to pay $14, $15 an hour. You know, you got Menards and Home Depot and all these places paying $17 to $20 an hour. But trucking is still hauling for rates that were back in the 80s and 90s for today. The rates should be 3 to 4 times higher than what they are for this time frame, inflation, economy, and so forth. It's what it should be. But it's not. So how do we change it? The problem is you can't get a room full of drivers to sit in there and agree on anything. Someone will disagree. Someone will think it's better to do something else or some other way. That was the guy saying get out of the way because he got that great load for 80 cents a mile. So, anyway, we will do a whiteboard session probably next week sometime. And we'll break it down on deadhead compared to sitting or taking that cheap freight, let's say in Florida. We will show how it's with cost per day. We're going to show it with cost per day because if you're trying to haul for rate per mile out of Florida, you'll be there until the next hurricane season. You'll never leave. If you have that mentality, you're just going to stay down there. And by the time you get out of there, all the plastic on those plastic trucks you drive will all be sun faded. Well, can't say that because, in the spring, when the watermelons come out and everything, you'll get a decent rate, but you have to haul $45,000 to do it. But that's about the only time you'll get a decent rate, when the potatoes and watermelons run. All other times, if you go down there, you're going to know what you're coming out with. It's going to be a garbage rate. So, just make sure when you go in for really good. And always look at that 3, 4, 5, 600 miles out of there. See what that's paying going to where you want to go. And more than likely, you'll make more money to deadhead all that way and pick that load up and continue on. And if everybody did that, the prices would have to go up because there'd be no supply of trucks, but there'd be demand in freight. And they'd have to start raising prices. Yeah, so we have some more drivers coming probably the end of next week. So we're going to close the door on hiring. We've got enough for 3 more contractors until the beginning of next year. Because we got to be at a certain number for this year, and we can't go over it. I mean, we can, but we're not going to. So with those folks coming next week, I'd say probably 3 more slots, and that'll be it for the rest of the year. Unless someone leaves, then we'll fill that spot. But you got to have a really good record. And you got to have a business mind on you. Because, you know, we will teach you the business and all that, but you got to be willing to learn. And you got to be a real owner operator, right? So you got to know, you got to try to know the business. There's more to it than just driving the truck and getting a paycheck. I remember back, I knew someone that he'd buy new trucks and drive and drive and drive. And I'd say, hey, what's your cost per day? What's your cost per mile? He knew none of it. I said, what's your business cost? He said, doesn't matter. As long as I got money in the bank and I get a paycheck every week, that's all that matters. So he didn't even know if he was profitable. But what happens when you don't use a program like AXISTMS, Trucking Office, race program, you know, if you don't use like any one of those programs or any program, you don't know where your business is at. People say, why use QuickBooks? QuickBooks is okay, but it's not trucking. It won't break it down. Because you could look at it monthly, and in trucking programs will give you your cost per mile, right, for that month. And month to month, you'll see it change because you're doing less miles or more miles. And that's the problem with cost per mile. You know, for your rate per mile, to figure that out, what you think you need to make it, is it's got too many variables. And the biggest one is miles. Because if you base everything on 10,000 miles a month or 12,000 miles a month, what happens if you only get half those miles or 3/4 of those miles? What happens? Now, if you know your cost per day, you can base that on 15 days a month. So your cost is higher, but that gives you 15 days leadway to whether work or not. And if you work, then everything past that 15 days is profit, because if you made it in that 15, the other 15 is pure profit, or whatever days you work. If you base on 20, same thing. If you're making more money for those first 15 days, maybe you made enough to cover the whole month. You really don't need to work the last 15 if you didn't want to. And if the truck breaks, you're okay. But halfway through, let's say a 12,000 mile month, you break down because you're all based on miles for your rate per mile and your monthly cost. You might not have enough money built up, because in this economy, you're not going to get that rate per mile every single load, and you're not going to get a whole lot more money over that. So what are you going to do? All right, so we are going to cut it off right here. It's about, what time is it? Oh, my watch died. I don't know. It's 8:37. We are out of here. We're going to start doing some more YouTube videos. We're going to get back on track. We've been really, really busy growing the trucking company and so forth, the dispatch service and things like that. So we're going to get back to teaching on YouTube. And we're bringing it back old school. I'm going to start redoing the videos because obviously there's a lot of folks out there that need the help. And there's a lot of folks that listen to the wrong stuff and they don't know their business. They don't know how to figure it. And so we're going to teach it. And if they don't want to watch, they don't have to watch, right? So there you go. And no one comes on to interview and challenge it, right? They don't. Why is that? Anybody know? So if you want to watch some good YouTube, go to Big Face Trucker, check his channel out. I think the steering wheel, I think steering wheel has it. Sterling Wheel. I think he has a channel also. I believe I seen a video a couple days ago. Jerome, be safe out there. Nice of you to jump in and hang out with us while you're driving down the road. Big Face Trucker's raising dogs. He's probably selling them, getting good money for them. I thought you were also working on BMWs. You still doing the BMW thing? Let's see, we got something going on. This is going to be a good election year, right? Get to see all this stuff play out with these different candidates. Let me see. All right, we are out of here. Thanks for watching. Like I said, we're going to do some of those other videos. We're going to go into the channel. We're going to clean it up. We're going to make some different playlists, put everything in a certain order, and start over with teaching again and so forth. I thought about even just starting a whole new channel up with 0 subs and go from there, but we'll keep it going, and we'll have a lot more stuff coming out, a lot more programs showing that we use and so forth to keep the operation running smoothly, and we'll see y'all later.